Imagine waking up to find that the most famous face in history has vanished. One ordinary Monday morning in 1911, the world-renowned Louvre Museum in Paris realized its crown jewel was gone. There were no broken windows, no alarms, just 4 empty iron hooks and a cold, blank spot on a dusty wall. The Mona Lisa hadn't just been stolen, she had been kidnapped. But why would someone take a piece of wood and oil that few people even cared about back then? Stay with me, because the story of this theft doesn't just involve a thief, it involves a secret so deep that the artist had to dissect human bodies just to paint it.
Hello and welcome. If you're new here, welcome to Amazing 5.
It was August 21st, 1911. The city of Paris was waking up in its usual rhythm. People were rushing to their offices, the smell of fresh baguettes filled the streets, and the sun was casting long shadows over the Seine River. Inside the Louvre, the halls were silent. At 8:30 a.m., 3 men dressed in white workmen's smocks walked calmly out of the museum's side entrance. They looked like ordinary staff members. One of them held a package wrapped in a simple, rough blanket. To anyone passing by, it looked like a piece of scrap wood or an old tool. There was no running, no sweating, and no fear. They walked straight to the nearest train station, hopped on the 8:45 a.m. train, and vanished into the heart of France. For 24 hours, nobody even noticed she was gone. Guards walked past the empty space, assuming the painting had been taken to the rooftop for a photography session. It wasn't until the next day that the terrifying truth hit the museum like a lightning bolt. The Mona Lisa had been erased from the building. Suddenly, the world went into a frenzy. Headlines screamed in every language. The French police were desperate. They closed the borders and searched every bag leaving the city. They were so lost that they even brought in the famous artist Pablo Picasso for questioning, suspecting he might be part of an underground art theft ring. People began to wonder, what made this woman so special? Before the theft, the Mona Lisa was just another painting in a room full of masterpieces. But now that she was missing, she was a superstar. Now thousands of people actually went to the Louvre just to look at the empty wall where she used to hang. They left flowers and notes, mourning her as if she were a real person. Today, she is valued at over $1 billion. But to understand her true value, we have to look past the theft and into the mind of the man who created her. A man who lived 500 years before the heist. Leonardo da Vinci was not just a painter, he was a scientist, an inventor, and a dreamer who lived centuries ahead of his time. He was obsessed with the way the world worked. To him, painting wasn't just about beauty, it was about the truth. Leonardo would spend his nights in cold, dark hospital basements dissecting human bodies. He wanted to see how every muscle moved and how every nerve functioned. He spent months studying the nerves of the human lip, trying to understand exactly how a smile is born. This wasn't just art, it was a scientific investigation. He worked on the Mona Lisa for 15 years. He never actually finished it to his own satisfaction. He carried the painting with him everywhere he went, from Italy to France, constantly adding tiny, invisible layers of paint. Why was he so obsessed with this one small portrait? For centuries, the biggest question has been, who is she? Most historians believe she was Lisa Gherardini, the young wife of a silk merchant from Florence. But because Leonardo never gave the painting to the merchant, rumors began to swirl. Some say she was Leonardo's mother, painted from memory. Others believe a much more shocking theory, that the Mona Lisa is actually Leonardo himself. In 1987, researchers used digital tools to overlap Leonardo's self-portrait with the face of the Mona Lisa. They found that the distance between the eyes, the shape of the nose, and the structure of the face matched perfectly. Was he playing a cosmic joke on us? Did he hide himself behind a woman's veil? The real magic, however, lies in a technique called sfumato. Leonardo used hundreds of thin, watery layers of paint to blur the edges of her face. There are no hard lines. Her hair, her skin, and the mountains behind her all seem to melt into one another like smoke. This creates a psychological trick. If you look directly at her lips, she isn't really smiling. But if you look at her eyes, your peripheral vision catches the shadows around her mouth, and she suddenly looks like she's sharing a deep, joyful secret with you. Yet the moment you look back at her mouth, the smile vanishes. She is a living, breathing experience that changes every time you look at her. 2 years after the theft, the thief was finally caught. He wasn't a professional criminal. His name was Vincenzo Peruggia, and he had once worked at the Louvre. He didn't steal her for money, he stole her for love. As an Italian, he believed the painting belonged in Italy, not France. He had kept her hidden in a false-bottom trunk in his tiny apartment for 2 years, staring at her every night. When the Mona Lisa finally returned to the Louvre in 1913, she was no longer just a painting, she was a global icon. The theft had made her famous, but Leonardo's genius had made her immortal. Today, she sits behind bulletproof glass, watched by millions of eyes every year. She remains silent, yet her hands crossed, watching us with that same knowing expression. Leonardo da Vinci may have been a man of the past, but through this painting, he created something that will always belong to the future. Whether she is a merchant's wife, a mother's memory, or a self-portrait of a genius, she remains the world's greatest mystery, hidden in plain sight.